Coach, we know you're very busy on this day, so first of all, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, Coach.
You got it, Eric. Leroy, how you guys doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. I got to ask you this question right off the bat here. What is National Signing Day like for you as a head coach? There's a lot of uncertainty and doubt about today, and a lot of that stuff is out of your control.
It is. So, you get a certain amount of scholarships that you can handle. So you're constantly trying to manage it without going over, because you can't go over and then leave somebody out in the cold. And unfortunately, many times, a young man will say he's coming, and then it will change. Even as late as last night, 11:30, 12 o'clock last night, there was two young men that said they were coming, and then it didn't go our way. So I think from that standpoint, that's a little bit challenging, but at least that's a challenge that we're all faced with. And that last 72 hours can get hairy, no question about it.
So what you just mentioned, that's kind of part of the recruiting process, right? There have been several kids who have quote-unquote decommitted and are going elsewhere. And like you talked about last night, people are changing their mind. They're just kids. Why do you think that is, that guys committed here and changed their minds going elsewhere? And how frustrated and are you about that? And do you take it personally?
Well, I mean, I think if you're a competitor at all, you take it personally. You should. I mean, in terms of competing and trying to recruit kids and get them to come here. But again, I think it's becoming a little bit more commonplace. So I think one of the answers is obviously an early signing date, which I think would benefit everybody, all the parties involved, high school coaches, the young people, their parents, and certainly coaches in how we allocate funds and spending in terms of recruiting. So from that standpoint, that's a story for another day, but it is challenging. It is a little bit frustrating. It's hard to manage. But again, that's part of it. And you just make sure the ones that you can get can help you, and don't worry about the ones you don't get. Just focus on the guys that you can get. And that's one of the things that we're really excited about, is the guys that we're bringing in with this class.
Al Golden with us here on The Ticket. Coach, one of the staples of this program has been keeping those stud high school athletes from Broward, Dane, and Palm Beach counties right here at home in Miami and playing their college football right here. You've only got a handful of kids from this class from the Tri-County area. Why has that been such a struggle for you to keep those kids at home and playing for the U?
Well, I don't know if it was a struggle a year ago. I think we have 7 of our 18 or 19 commits are from the 3 counties. And we have, I think 13 are from Florida. So, I think from that standpoint, hold on, are you good? Okay, I'm sorry. Somebody was, I thought we had another phone call here. We're in the middle of it, so you're seeing what it's like. So I think 13 of the 19 are right now are from, Florida, and 7 are from the Tri-County. I think, one of the things, guys, is, there wasn't a lot of big men down here in terms of offensive linemen, and so most of those guys came from outside this area. Last year, we were very fortunate that we offered 3 in those 3 counties, only 3 offensive linemen, and we were able to hit all 3 of them with Nick Linder, Casey McDermott, and Trevor Darland. So the fact that we needed 6 offensive linemen probably diluted that number a little bit for us in terms of not having as many skilled guys. But next year, the 16 class is full of corners and wide receivers, and clearly we're starting to get that response because of it.
Coach, Miami has struggled a little bit as of late. Some guys would question that you do have the talent and that it's not been developed. But my question to you is this: does winning fix all of these issues?
Oh, I think Leroy, winning fixes it, and fixes a lot of the issues. And when we were going through a lot of the struggles, we were quietly building. We have been building the infrastructure and trying to get it to where it needs to be, and whether that's spending the money on the fields or spending the money on the facility, getting a new training table, the medical center that's going to house our sports performance, and then certainly the changes in the renovation to Sun Life Stadium. All of those things are going to benefit the University of Miami and our football program and recruiting moving forward. But certainly winning in conjunction with that is really going to help us. So from that standpoint, we're excited tomorrow to get started on the 2015 team.
Now, do you have questions, when you go into a young kid's house, or, you're competing with the Alabamas, the Florida States, the Ohio States, the Floridas, teams that have been successful lately, what are you offering? I'm not saying, anything, outside the scheme of what you can do. But what are you offering? What does the university have to offer? Because a lot of these kids almost seem like, yeah, I want to play for the University of Miami. And then somebody says something or does something and they say, oh, it might be better for me here.
Well, I think that's always going to be the case. I think, the world has shrunken. I think kids can look at a variety of schools, from their laptop now and evaluate the schools from their laptop. And a lot of those small little college towns have flights now. So I don't think there's, that's not going to go away, and as we win, I think we're going to keep our share of guys, and certainly the guys that we brought in this year, we love those guys. I mean, Jaquan Johnson, I thought was the best safety down here, and he was our first choice at safety, and we got him. And Mark Walton is an excellent tailback, and we're excited about him. Charles Perry, one of our linebackers, from up in Royal Palm and Palm Beach, is another guy that we thought was excellent. I'll tell you a guy that maybe was under the radar nationally, but not for us, and we offered him a long time ago, is Richard McIntosh from Fort Lauderdale at 278 pounds, a defensive end, and is also a basketball player. So there's a lot of situations where there's guys like that that are going to make an impact for us and that are joining our program that we're excited about. And it's a shame that all that other stuff gets put into this day, but this day, in terms of the way we approach is, did we get the right guys? Can these guys help our program, and then do they fill the need? And from that standpoint, we're excited.
Coach, you alluded to the offensive linemen that you were able to get. I want to talk about the defensive line. Historically, Kane's defensive linemen have been dominant at this university, producing NFL stars like Russell Maryland, Cortez Kennedy, Warren Sapp, Vince Wilfork, Calais Campbell. The list goes on. As of now, you have, I believe, one committed defensive tackle. Why has it been so difficult for you to find those big physical guys up front?
Well, I think if you look at the three counties, I think we offered two down here, and we got one. So I think from that standpoint, many times we have to go, outside of Broward and Dade for those guys, for those big guys. We were very fortunate last year. I think we offered four and got three because we got A.J. Moten, Demetrius Jackson, and Chad Thomas, which was awesome. We lost one of those guys a year ago. So there wasn't as many this year, but again, we love the ones that we got, and the day's not over yet, so we got to keep plugging and see if we can add another one or two to that group. Again, I'm excited about the defensive line that we have coming back this year. Demetrius Jackson, I mentioned earlier, Quan Muhammad, Trent Harris, Afamba Kamala, Chad Thomas, Jelani Hamilton, A.J. Moten, all the nose guards who were first-year players a year ago, all of them are coming back. So I'm excited about the defensive line and the experience that we're bringing back, the size and the experience we're bringing back there.
Coach, how does it make you feel when a guy like Anthony Chickillo goes to an all-star game and he talks to reporters in the media and says that he doesn't think he was used properly at Miami?
Well, again, I didn't know that. I didn't hear that. So I never comment on somebody else's comments unless I address them personally. So I was not aware of that. I was aware that Chick played his tail off all week, and I was happy for him and proud of him. But I wasn't aware of anything else, and certainly if I don't hear it or I don't discuss it with one of our players or former players, I'm certainly not going to comment on it publicly.
Understood. On that note, some college football analysts as well as current NFL GMs, they've said that they don't think you're using the right scheme on defense as it relates to the type of athlete you have and that you're recruiting. How would you dispute that?
Well, I think we made a lot of progress on defense last year, and we were able to redshirt a lot of guys for the first time since I've been here. And I think that's going to help us, bolster the defense and the experience, and excited about the two deep that we have coming back. So, again, I really can't worry about anybody that has a comment like that. I think we made a lot of progress on defense. I think we're going to have excellent pass rushers. I love the veteran secondary that we have coming back. And certainly from a defensive line standpoint, there's excellent depth and great competition, and that's something that I'm excited about. And in terms of our total defense a year ago, I think we moved from 90th to 14th in the country, and now the challenge is, can we take the next step? So let's challenge the group and see if we can take the next step, and then we'll go from there. But in terms of letting guys run around and be active, and we're bringing safeties, we're bringing both inside linebackers, we're bringing both outside linebackers, we're bringing corners. I think we're as active in terms of our movement and pressure as anybody around, period.
Couple of more for head coach of your Miami Hurricanes down here, Al Golden, with us on the ticket. You said after the season that you were going to analyze every aspect of this program. What did you come up with in that review, and is there still a chance for some changes on the staff?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just analyzing everything that we do and trying to improve every aspect of it. And it's something that I spent a lot of time on, and certainly even when I was traveling around. I think the biggest thing is we have to meet everything with consistency in terms of our approach on the field, off the field, in terms of our systems. And what I mean by that is consistency in our approach, in our daily process and how we teach and our standards and those types of things. But it started with me going to the Dallas Cowboys and analyzing a lot of the things that they do and seeing what we can take from that. And I've challenged a lot of the other coaches to do that as well. So again, in terms of any staff changes or anything like that, it's just something that is always in play. We got to make sure we're all improving and we're setting a high standard and getting the most out of our players. And if that's not the case, then certainly that chance is always there, I think. But for right now, I think it's really important that we continue to move the program forward and get back to coaching our team tomorrow, and I can't wait to do that.
Coach, even though right now, if you go to Rivals or, Scouts Inc. or ESPN, even though your class isn't ranked very high and you've had some decommits and there's been some scrutiny, I get, from this conversation from you, I take it that you're pretty pleased with what's going on right now in this recruiting class.
Well, I am pleased that, during the last two cycles when we were giving up scholarships, we really had to manage. I'll give you an example. Here's some insight that maybe you don't know. So we're sitting there going into last year, and we didn't have many offensive linemen at all. And the one position that couldn't get hurt, I had 3 offensive tackles get surgery on the same Wednesday in October. That was a tough day for us because that was the one position that couldn't get hurt. So Casey McDermott, he played as a freshman, and then we started Nick Linder and Trevor Darling as freshmen. So from that standpoint, that was one of the positions that got hurt during the scholarships that we forfeited. And so when you hold back in that position for a couple of years and you try to skim, if you will, and try to get by with what you have, you ultimately are gonna pay for that. So we had 3 starters leave, and so we needed a big class of offensive linemen. Well, guess what? There's not many down here. I don't know. You guys should look and see in the 3 counties how many offensive linemen signed. In the Power 5 conferences. So most of our guys have to come from outside down here in South Florida, and we love those guys. And we got 6 of them. We wouldn't trade them for anybody. They're rugged, they're smart, they're tough. They're great in terms of their size. They're just not going to give you, the stardom and the star power that skilled guys will. So, area that we had to fill a need in. And another area that we could not offer a scholarship to in the last cycle was the kicker and punter, and we desperately needed that. So, Vogel came in and walked on and earned the starting job, and well, guess what? He earned a scholarship in this cycle too. He's not going to show up on your sheet today, but he gave a year and paid his own way, and then we put him on scholarship, the next 2 years. So we've had to be creative with our cap space, if you will. Until we get back to the full 85. We should be, 78, 79 this year, and then hopefully be at 85 by 2016. So I wish I could have taken, 4 wideouts or 4 corners this year and things of that nature. We had to budget accordingly. And this year, in this cycle, we needed 6 offensive linemen just to make sure we had enough to get through the season next year.
Coach, I look at this list of signings, and a lot of guys have some nice size. And, they're listed at certain positions. I mean, football has changed in college football. Kid comes into college now. He wants to play the position he wants
Correct.
to play.
Yep.
And when I was coming up, you played the position that best fit the need of the team. So how difficult is that? You're talking about offensive linemen. You know, I had a couple of guys that played defensive line and ended up being athletic offensive linemen. That just doesn't happen anymore.
It seldom does, Leroy. It seldom does. It really is. Everybody is so stratified and everybody's so specialized at a young age that there really is less movement than there used to be. It used to be, you recruit. Your strong safeties go to linebacker, your linebackers go to defensive end, and your defensive tackles go to offensive guard or center.
Did you have that day where everybody played a different position?
Yeah. Okay, I get you. Yeah. So in training camp, everybody played both sides of the ball, when you first got there. And that's just that they look at you sideways. You'd be having couch sessions between, there'd be parents in your living room if you do that now. And because everybody's specialized. So, once in a while you get a guy like Dallas Crawford that, goes from one side of the ball to the other, and is multifaceted and unselfish and will do those things. But very seldom do you see that anymore. I think it's a great point. Everybody's they are what they are. It's stratified, and you go to the position that you've been trained in since you were very young.
Coach, we know you're about to hop on ESPN a little bit later on. It's a busy day for you, so just want to say we appreciate the time.
Good luck, Coach. Thanks a lot.
Eric and Leroy, thanks so much, guys.
All right.
You got it. Head coach of your Miami Hurricanes,
People
Al
don't
Golden,
realize
right
that,
there.
man. Like, the last thing we talked about, I played linebacker for a day. I never played defense before in my life. Desmond was a cornerback when he first got to Michigan.
I'm very interested to see the reaction coming in from the text. We're back right after this.
Now back to the Eric Reed Show.
I'm hurt, dog. Don't ask me if I'm all right. Hell no. Joaquin said dominate, and we not doing it. I put my heart in this dog. Let's go, man.
On the new FM 104.3, The Ticket.
Take me down, spin me around. You got me.
This segment of the Eric and Leroy Show is brought to you by Edmunds.com. Buying a new car, that can be a lot of work, especially the time it takes to check every price out there. Cut to the chase with Edmunds Price Promise and compare already discount prices instantly.
You can always text the show on the Kendall Toyota and West Kendall Toyota text line, 67974. Save time, save money. They're waiting for you. If you're just joining us right now, we spoke with Al Golden for about, 16, 17 minutes there.
Yes, he was very gracious to take the heat. I
think there were a couple of questions he wasn't pleased that I asked, and I thought that there were a couple of questions that he was glad we asked so he could explain himself a little bit. And I'm interested if you could uncage the beast, or maybe he's already uncaged as he hopped on earlier.
I would say this: to ask him to defend something that somebody else said, that's probably where it got a little tough for him. You know what I mean?
Also, with the keeping the kids down here in South Florida, he challenged us to do our homework.
I actually understood what he was saying. I got it. I still, depending on what position you need and being in a situation that they've been the last couple of years where you almost have to go into it like a draft and with the scholarships that you have. But again, there's Alabama seems to be signing a lot of kids.
Beast, what's the reaction coming in there?
It's all over the place. This one comes in. Guys, that was a direct, fair, and respectful interview. That was as good as you guys could have been given current atmosphere around the program. Well done. This one comes in. A bunch of non-answers from Al and always the same stats when it comes to the defense. I don't need to see stats. I can see the awful product on the field. And finally, likable guy, talks a good talk. I want to believe them, but results are showing. Here, a lot of excuses for their record, and that was with great talent.
I really would love to have a beer with Al Golden. He sounds like he'd be a fun guy to hang out with.
Would you wear a tie?
No, Leroy. I would not wear a tie. I don't think he would wear a tie either. He saves that for game day.
So here,
but I'm just not sure he's qualified for the job.
Here's what I'll say. And I'll say this in defense of him. His record speaks for itself. What he's done and how he's done it speaks for itself. But I will say this. A lot of the problems that they've had is they've tried to be really aggressive, and kids that have just been put in that situation have been in the wrong spots, and guys have been running scot-free. So we said this a couple of years ago. If he gets the same kids doing the same thing now for the second year, will that look a lot different?
When I say I'm not sure Al Golden is qualified for this job, he can coach football. Like, he turned around a program.
Sure.
However, it was Temple. When you come down here to Miami and you're a white guy from the Northeast.
Okay.
And you come down here and you're trying to relate to inner city kids, black kids from the inner cities in Miami. And then once you do get them in, even if, his recruiting classes haven't been terrible at all. And like he talked about, 2016 looks really, really good. The question is, will he be around to coach those kids? We always talked about it, Beast. Can he relate to these type of players down here?
There's a universal language. That's football.
Well,
look at the coaches.
But then, you know what the universal language is for how a coach, if he's qualified to be a good coach or if he is a good coach, is wins. And he's not getting them.
Okay.
And the wins he does get are against inferior opponents. He still does not have a signature win.
Let me ask you this. Okay? Is it his fault or is it the level of commitment that the university itself has, and that's why you have a coach like Al Golden?
That's part of it. I think his assistants.
He's not qualified.
I don't think his assistants or coordinators.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
maybe
so
it's
guess what?
The whole shebang.
What if I'm the university and I say, hey Al, you can go spend $900,000 or $1 million for a coordinator because guess what Lane Kiffin makes? Over $1 million. Okay? We'll give you $900,000 to go get a coordinator. You think that offense will look better?
Couple things that the people are pointing out, and it's really because we have time constraints. We can't talk to the guy for an hour, but a lot of people are saying that you asked about the defensive tackles, and he really didn't answer the question. He talked about offensive linemen, and you asked him about local players, and he talked about last year's class and next year's class,
right.
Really, again, not really answering the question, but we did the best. I think you guys did the best we could in the time constraints that we had.
You don't want to crucify the guy on National Signing Day.
Well, I mean, sometimes people expect too much from the media because they're not in our position and they don't understand what it is to have to be professional.
They don't understand that sometimes you ask a coach a question and he answers what he wants to say and not necessarily the answer.
He's also a smart guy, people. Like,
right.
Come on,
he
dude.
gives great coach speak, man.
Amazing. He gives a wonderful coach speak.
All right, let's talk to Manny Navarro next from the Herald. He's, he is plugged in with this program, but this guy follows the high school beat down here like nobody else.
Let's
he
ask
talked
Manny
to the
about
recruits.
what Al Golden said.
There you go. Manny Navarro's next.